Well, I would first say is to never ever give your power away. Never allow anybody else to think for you. Don't give your power to religion, to politics, to cults, to philosophies. When you give your power away, you have no power. When you give your power to a religion or whatever, you actually become that thing. My advice is to step away from anything that involves fear, that involves control. I think we must follow our hearts and do what our hearts tell us to do, because then we can become the magnificent people that we really are. We are not these low-down, sniveling things that religions and governments tell us we are. We are mighty creations. We are divine. We are all that is. And all that is doesn't need a government telling us what to do. We are meant to live magnificent lives. And when we get all these structures out of the way, we will live magnificent lives.
Do you have any personal gifts or abilities that you'd like to tell people about that we can all access and harness?
You know, the answer to that individually lies within ourselves. But there's certainly some things that we can do that will change our lives unbelievably. One is to have gratitude for absolutely everything that happens in our lives. Sometimes we suffer in order to learn a lesson. That makes that suffering worthwhile. If we learn the lesson, we don't need to suffer again. Another thing is to have intent. Every day when you get up, let us just intend what our day is going to be. We don't need all sorts of things to protect us from our fears. If our intention for the day is that we're going to be safe, and we're going to get around and do everything that we're meant to do that day, that is what will happen. I think we need to communicate with our divine self, the great self, and the more we bring that to the fore, the more our lives will become great and we'll be able to do whatever we're meant to do. We all have talents and abilities, and we don't realize what these are until we start working at them and knowing what they are. I didn't know that I could write. So to be told that I had to write was the biggest shock of my life. But actually, I can write, and I'm discovering I can do all sorts of things. And the cause of a lot of our problems is lack of self-esteem. Society teaches us that, our parents teach us, education, the governments. But when we take our power back, there's no stopping us. We can perform miracles. We can be the transformation that the world needs. It's up to us. And most of all, absolutely love yourself utterly and completely, because in love is all our power. Stop being unconscious, wake up and look what is happening around you. Think deeply and don't just act without knowing what you're really doing.
I tend to find, having come from Europe, where people are starting to wake up to all this information, people are a lot more open to it, that people here seem to be encrusted in a horrific layer of fear. South Africa is a country that's dominated by fear, and because of that fear, they can't see the woods for the trees. I'd just like to know your opinion on that and how we go about shifting this vibration of fear that's around us.
Yes, that is the case. South Africa is encased in fear. The crime rate in this country is the worst in the world. Because of the lenient jurisdiction, very few of those crimes are actually brought to book. So people are very fearful, and we're having hijackings, we're having all sorts of things. The only thing really is to just perhaps stop looking at the news, stop reading the newspapers, surround yourself with friends who don't speak about these kind of things, and to read uplifting information, find out what's really happening in the world, and literally, you know, when you have no fear in you, it doesn't affect you. If you're driving around the road and you're full of fear, you're going to get hijacked. But if you just literally have no fear and are totally conscious, you can't be fully conscious and have fear in you at the same time. So literally step out of the fear, surround yourself in love and consciousness, and you're going to be absolutely fine and absolutely safe. We're going to have an absolutely fantastic, bright future here.
Well, I'm so pleased to hear you so optimistic, as I am ever the optimist, and I too, like you, believe that the revolution of the world is coming from Africa. I don't know how I know this, I just feel it, and I wanted to know how you see the future of South Africa panning out.
I see a government that is not politically motivated, and beyond that I see no government. I see the people standing and working together and helping each other. We have a fantastic profusion of cultures in this country, and when we on the ground can resolve all our differences and learn to get on with each other, we will walk the world into a brighter future. I don't think there's anywhere in the world that has the complications that South Africa has. They can't even begin to imagine what life is like here. Unfortunately, we are always criticized by the world, and that is simply because the the media put out information about South Africa that is not true, it is not correct, and that's happened throughout the whole of Africa. I mean, I could tell you stories that are absolutely ludicrous of what the media have put out there. So I put all that aside, and South Africa has a phenomenal future.
At the moment, there seems to be this real rise in religious cults. We've got the Mighty Men Conference, which happened up the North Coast over the weekend, where all men got together. I think there was over 500,000 men got together with this guy who's written a book called Faith Like Potatoes. And there's this Rhema church run by this Ray McCauley, who himself is an absolute contradiction in what he preaches. Why is it that people are so easily suckered into religion here?
I think it's because people are so in fear and are needing answers. So I do have a sympathy with these people. They do find some kind of nurturing in this. But it's not something that lasts. You know, sooner or later you've got to open your eyes and look around. If religion is helping to make you a better person, that is fine. But if it's taking your power away from you, then I don't think it is so good. If people simply take their power back and realize the answer lies only within themselves, that they don't need to go to seek it in religions or politics or cults. But I do understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit more about your book. You said that you were told by Credo Mutwa to write this book.
Yes.
And it's wonderfully inspiring. I mean, it's the material about the war and the history it's very saddening. Of course, as a South African, it's sad to see this happening in such an amazing continent. I mean, we are the wealthiest country in the world, just in terms of our resources, yet we have so much problems. And I'm wondering if there isn't a connection between all these, the fact that we have so much crime, but yet we are in resources the wealthiest country, and how come so much of the money is not staying here?
Well, I don't think it's even staying on the planet, quite honestly. That is something that if people are interested, they could certainly research that. And yes, I know it gets mouths hanging wide open, but I think there's interest in this country, not because of the wealth of the people and the manpower, but simply the resources, which is a great tragedy. I think the earth needs to keep her resources to herself. And I think that once we're fully conscious and living as higher beings, we don't need money. We won't need any of those things. We won't have to continue destroying the earth by raping her of her riches. I think they're in the earth for a reason, and that's where they should stay.